So, folks, we got to talk about what's going on with Venezuela. It's now been a couple days since Donald Trump sent special forces into Venezuela's capital, bombed several locations across the metropolitan area and across the country, and abducted Nicolas Maduro, the president of Venezuela, and his wife, and then flew them to New York City to stand trial. And it's been a wild 48 hours, to say the least. And of course, it is worth noting here that, well, all of this is happening under Donald Trump. And a lot of people are saying, look at Donald Trump, what a brilliant strategy. And by a lot of people, I mean primarily Republicans who are glazing him after spending, multiple years touting him as the anti-war president. And I gotta tell you guys, nothing says anti-war like sending Marines into a foreign country and abducting their leadership. But of course, let's just check in. How is our big sweaty boy doing when it comes to his mental health? Here he is on Truth Social. Pregnant women, don't use Tylenol unless absolutely necessary. Don't give Tylenol to your young child for virtually any reason. Break up the MMR shot into 3 totally separate shots, not mixed. Take chicken pea shot separately. Take hepatitis B shot at 12 years old or older, and importantly, take vaccine in 5 separate medical visits. President Donald J. Trump. Now, that you might be thinking to yourself, didn't he post that like a couple months ago after like an insane rant he had live with RFK Jr. about how Tylenol was causing autism? Why would you shorten chickenpox to chicken pea? The ox was just a bridge too far for him. And setting aside the fact that that is all insane, it's insane gibberish that is not backed up by medical science whatsoever. Let's just count this out real quick. So break up the MMR shot into 3 totally separate shots, not mixed. So that's 3 hospital visits or doctor's visits. Take chickenpox shot separately. Take hepatitis B shot at 12 years old or older. And importantly, take vaccine in 5 separate medical visits. So that gets us to 9, 10 vaccinations. And keep in mind, this Republican president has made it exorbitantly expensive for a lot of people to go to the doctor now, because a lot of people have lost their healthcare coverage. But again, it's not surprising that Donald Trump would say something like this, because he has soup for a brain and has never had to worry about the cost of going to the doctor ever once in his life. And let's check in on him. Maybe he's just maybe it's just a bot posting stuff to his account. Let's check in with a gaggle with the press he had yesterday on Air Force One.
By the way, you mentioned something that's interesting. Lindsay mentioned Bin Laden. I wrote about Bin Laden 1 year before the attack on the World Trade Center, and I said you got to go after Bin Laden. It was in my book. And very few people want to say that, but it was in my book. You know that, I think. You've actually talked about it. But if they would have listened to me, they would have taken out Bin Laden, and you wouldn't have had the World Trade Center tragedy.
Yeah, this is certainly going to...
Did you know that? I predicted Bin Laden.
I learned something every day.
No, but did you hear that?
I didn't know. I just heard it right now.
No, I wrote a book. It was 1 year before the attack that the book came out. And it talked about, there's a whole page, a whole section dedicated to a guy named Bin Laden who's a bad guy who you have to take out.
So, I'll get the book. But right after the election,
he's claiming he foresaw 9/11 in his book that, I want to remind everyone, was not written by him. That book was ghostwritten by someone else. And in that book, there is one mention of bin Laden, but not in a, oh, get this guy, he's gonna do 9/11, but in a, oh, yeah, he's a guy that is active in US foreign policy. Like, what book? The book he's talking about is The America We Deserve, which is a book published in like 2000 or so. And yeah, that book was not written by Donald Trump. It was written by a guy named Dave Shiflett. So yeah. His brain is just soup, guys. His brain is just soup. I bring all of this up because a lot of people, especially in Donald Trump's inner circle, are trying to say, oh no, this guy, he's brilliant. He has such a brilliant mind for these things. What a brilliant ploy, sir. Just absolutely incredible. Like, he's being glazed every which way by his inner circle right now. And what's very clear to me, when you actually look at interviews and statements that people around him are making about this, is that they don't have a plan. They don't have a plan for what they're going to do in Venezuela. There is nothing. The plan was, oh, Nicolas Maduro is dancing too much in videos, so that clearly is an insult to Donald Trump, so we're going to go get him. Assuming that Nicolas Maduro gets a fair trial in the United States, what happens if he's found not guilty? What happens if this case is thrown out of court because of the method by which he was procured from another country? These are actual, real legal questions right now. In the indictment against Nicolas Maduro, one of the charges is that he owned machine guns. He's the leader of another country. Yeah, he's gonna have access to machine guns. What? Why is that even like that? But it's legal for Americans to have like automatic weapons, but not the leader of another country? Like, what are we doing here? Yeah, they have concepts of a plan, exactly. I mean, like, guys, here's just an astonishing interview with Marco Rubio over here.
Mr. Secretary, who is in charge? Are you running Venezuela right now?
Yeah, I mean, I keep people, fixating on that. Here's the bottom line on it is we expect to see changes in Venezuela. Changes of all kinds
Yeah, people keep fixating on who the head of state of Venezuela is. Yeah, because we removed the head of state of Venezuela for now. Like, yeah, people are worried that we're going to be drawn into an endless conflict or spark a regional conflict that could kill tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people.
Term, short term, we'd love to see all kinds of changes, but the most immediate changes are the ones that are in the national interest of the United States. That's why we're involved here, because of how it applies and has a direct impact on the United States. Okay, we are not going to be able to allow in our hemisphere a country that becomes a crossroads for the activities of all of our adversaries around the world. We just can't allow it. We can't have a country where the people in charge of its military and in charge of its police department are openly cooperating with drug trafficking organizations. We're not going to allow that. These things are direct threats to the United States, and we intend to use every element of leverage that we have to ensure that that changes.
So we're just gonna we're just gonna run the country and hope for the best, and if they say no, we'll just kill them, I guess. And meanwhile, while they are trying to say, Nicolas Maduro, what an evil dictator. And, to be fair, Nicolas Maduro, not a great guy. But just feels pertinent to share this clip from Prem Thakur of a protester in the United States.
We have to apply pressure at all points that we can. This is not just in a foreign issue, it's our tax dollars that are also being used to commit these war crimes. It is also the duty of us, the people, to stand against the Trump regime, the Trump administration that are committing crimes both here in the US and against people in Venezuela.
Now, in the background of this interview, you could see that police car. And now right here, we're showing you video we have. Immediately after the interview finished, Plichta was arrested by 2 Grand Rapids police officers. You can see it in the video, and an officer tells Plichta that she is being arrested for obstructing a roadway and failure to obey a lawful command from a police officer. You can see as she's taken away in that car, she was issuing a number of messages about wanting the U.S. to free Maduro. But again, she was taken away by police officers there, and you can see in this video, officers were closely following this procession in downtown Grand Rapids. We have reached out to GRPD for more information about the arrest, but we have not heard back so far.
Yeah. You know, in the United States, they'll just arrest you for opposing unilateral action. I'm sorry. They'll just arrest you for saying, "Hey, maybe the president shouldn't be able to send our military into foreign countries without the authorization of Congress." I saw this. It's insane. It is insane. It is insane. Now let's get back to taking a look at some of these statements from Marco Rubio in particular. Here's one that I found pretty interesting. This is from Marco Rubio's appearance on This Week with George Stephanopoulos. All right. Just a direct quote from Marco Rubio. "What we are going to react to is very simple. What do you do? Not what you're saying in public. What happens? What happens next? Do the drugs stop coming? Are the changes made? Is Iran expelled? Is Hezbollah no longer able and Iran no longer able to operate against our interests from Venezuela? Does the migration pattern stop? Do the drug trafficking boats end? Do you deal with the ELN and the FARC, 2 narco-terrorist organizations who control territory and operate with impunity from the territory of Venezuela against the interests of Colombia and the United States? These are the things we want addressed. If they're addressed, that's how we'll judge it. If they're not addressed, that's how we'll judge it." Question, and what happens if they're not addressed? "Well, as I said, we retain all options we had before this raid and this capture and this arrest was made. We continue." He's just threatening Venezuela again. Like, so much of what he's saying is so ridiculous if you have any idea what he's talking about, right? Like, I'm sorry, the argument that, like, Venezuela is a major launching point for Iran is absurd. The fact that one of the organizations listed here, FARC, was literally funded by the CIA makes it even more ridiculous. Does the migration pattern stop? Yeah, look, you have to have a complete lockdown of anyone coming in and out of Venezuela. Yeah, because the United States wants to be isolationist, we need to make Venezuela isolationist. What the fuck are you talking about? They're all, like, Donald Trump's brain is mush and soup. You know, he has soup brain syndrome, SBS. But Marco Rubio doesn't have a soup brain. He has a coward's brain. He is a pathetic little man who goes along with fascist power because he hopes one day that he will get a chance to wield that power. That's it. That's it. Now, of course, we all know who's going to actually be running Venezuela, at least as far as the Trump administration is interested, because, incredibly, Donald Trump told us. And we know it's not going to be Machado, the opposition leader who won the Nobel Peace Prize. And we'll get to why that is later. And we know that, like, as far as Donald Trump and Marco Rubio and all those clowns go, they don't believe that Maduro's vice president is the legitimate president now, or acting president now, of Venezuela. So who's actually in charge? One would probably have to look at who Donald Trump trusted and talked to about this operation before he even told Congress about it, which was, again, after he did it. The one group of people that Donald Trump consulted about this attack with. According to Newsweek, Donald Trump says he spoke to oil companies before Venezuela action. Guys, it's insane. It's insane that he's just straight up saying, I'm doing this to enrich oil executives. And Republicans are just applauding it. They think it's the most brilliant thing they've ever seen. Hey, what if we used your taxpayer dollars to just directly enrich some of the wealthiest people in our country? Speaking to reporters on Air Force One on Sunday, Trump said he had spoken to all of the oil firms before the raid took place without specifying what these conversations involved. They want to go in, and they're going to do a great job for the people of Venezuela, and they're going to represent us well. Guys, this is just straight up banana republic shit. This is what, people did all across Latin America. It's what they did to Hawaii. You show up as a young, enterprising, capitalist. You cut off the head of the government, and then you just create a country to serve as one big company town for your industry. They're not even hiding it this time either? Yeah, no, they aren't even pretending.
This is on the same level as pictures from the British Museum with the literal words, loot, levels of blatancy.
It's crazy. Also, thank you for the 5 tier 1 subs, Sake Tanuki. Very much appreciated. Also, can we just take a split second to mention the fact that the store Banana Republic still has the name Banana Republic? Banana Republic started as a store to sell colonial chic wear. Do you guys understand how insane it is that Banana Republic exists as a brand? We're the United States isn't even ashamed of the fact that we overthrew democracies in order to make countries that exist only to make us bananas. It's crazy. Guys, they literally launched Banana Republic. Their original name was Banana Republic Travel and Safari Clothing Company. It's fucking nuts. But I guess we're just really proud of the long and storied history of America overthrowing governments in order to serve capital. You gotta make sure that the wealthiest people in the world continue making that sweet, sweet money. And no matter how many people you have to make suffer in order to do it, I suppose. Donald Trump just coming right out and saying it. And again, I know Republicans don't give a single shit about hypocrisy. They just care about the raw exercise of power. But just in case some people still give a damn about, consistency versus hypocrisy, CNN put together this clip show, kind of a call and response between Donald Trump of today and Donald Trump on the campaign trail. Here you go.
Colombia is very sick, too, run by a sick man who likes making cocaine and selling it to the United States, and he's not going to be doing it very long, let me tell you. We believe that the job of the United States military is not to wage endless regime change wars. You have to do something with Mexico. Mexico has to get their act together because they're pouring through Mexico, and we're going to have to do something. The cartels are running Mexico, whether you like it or not. It's not nice to say, but the cartels are running Mexico. We will stop racing to topple foreign, and you understand this, foreign regimes that we know nothing about, that we shouldn't be involved with.
There's been protesters killed in Iran.
If they start killing people like they have in the past, I think they're going to get hit very hard by the United States.
Just real quick, remember when Donald Trump was calling for protesters to be shot in the streets? Anyone remember that? I remember that. I remember when Donald Trump was saying when the looting starts, the shooting starts, and now he's trying to say, oh, well, with Iran though, we're willing to send the military in to save those poor protesters.
Regime change in Iraq, regime change in Libya, regime change in Syria, and every other globalist disaster for half a century. We need Greenland from the standpoint of national security, and Denmark is not going to be able to do it. We're getting out of the nation-building business and instead focusing on creating stability in the world. The American dominance in the Western Hemisphere will never be questioned again. stupid foreign wars in countries that you've never heard of. This Tuesday is your chance to stand up and declare that you're not going to take it anymore. Colombia is very sick.
Now, you might have also noticed here that a lot of those clips took place, just 2 days ago on Air Force, or not even 2 days ago, yesterday on Air Force One. And that's because Donald Trump spent a large chunk of the questions he received yesterday talking about how much he wants to invade Colombia, Greenland, Mexico, Iran, and Venezuela again. It's crazy. This, he's genuinely insane. And none of the rationale for any of it makes any sense whatsoever, except insofar as any kind of action against those countries would be in furtherance of his billionaire donors. That's the only way it makes sense. It only makes sense if he's effectively going to give Greenland to Peter Thiel, if he's going to give Venezuela to the oil companies. That's the only way it at all makes any sense whatsoever. And to that extent, are Republicans okay with this? Well, it kind of appears so.
America First agenda. Sorry, America First agenda. Yes.
So just real quickly, if you can, Maria Machado, you just heard what Congressman Crow said about her not being part of this, at least the initial stage of this plan. I know that you traveled to Oslo with her. Was she disappointed to hear that they're allowing the elevation of the vice president to run the country for now?
Well, I have not been able to talk to her, but I do know that she is very much pro-America, and she dedicated that Nobel Peace Prize to the president. We have to put things into context, and the opposition within Venezuela understands that. We need to, this Delcy lady who swore herself in, and that we have to work with her for now. But Marco Rubio said it. It's been 48 hours. Let's give us a few months until we create the stability. And I'm sure that Maria Corina Machado, who is the leader of the opposition, of the Democratic opposition, will go back in, be able to put together the process so you can have free and fair elections with international observers. I'm sure she will be the nominee that Maduro did not allow her to be, the presidential nominee. I'm sure she's going to win.
Okay.
But, the gut thing here is that the Americans are behind all of this, not the Russians or the Cubans or the Chinese.
Yeah, they're definitely
America First.
It's wild. That's an elected representative, in the United States Congress, talking about how great it is that America was behind this coup and not China or Russia. And not only that, but the argument, it's only been 48 hours, give us a few months. You toppled a government without a plan. You toppled an entire government without a plan. Are you kidding me? This is soup-brained as fuck. It's crazy to me. Here's another one. Here's Senator Bernie Moreno. All right?
What's your response to those who say that Trump threatening military action in Mexico, possibly in Cuba, possibly in Colombia, possibly taking over Greenland, that none of that is America first?
Well, they have to get over their Trump derangement syndrome. Maduro, unlike the other presidents of the other countries you mentioned, is an indicted drug dealer.
Oh, well, yeah, no, it's not like the president of the United States could fabricate a pretense to indict other world leaders. I'm sorry, I'll talk about it after we finish this clip.
That's not the case in Mexico. It's not the case in Cuba. Now, by the way, Cuba specifically had conquered Venezuela already decades ago.
No, actually.
In fact, if you notice, the security forces that protected Maduro were not Venezuelan. The Venezuelans hate Maduro. He had to bring Cubans in to protect them. They're no longer there. They got extinguished by our forces.
I think 32 of them were killed or something
well,
like that.
That's the Cuban numbers. So the Cuban numbers of 32 is probably 300. But Cuba now has no financial ability to survive as a regime. So I think you're going to see Cuba fall before the end of the year. It's been 60 plus years in the making. because of that. And how this matters to the people of Ohio, to answer your question, the working people of Ohio, you're going to see gas prices drop dramatically. You're going to see less drugs in your neighborhood. You're not going to see your neighbors, kids, friends, relatives infected by drugs because we're
Yeah, man. Venezuela, famously where all of our drugs come from. No drugs are going to be in the U.S. anymore. Haha. It's not like anyone in the United States makes drugs. Haha. It's not like fentanyl is widely available in every single pharmacy and hospital in the country. Haha. Like, this is insane. Like, the lack shame on Ohio. Obviously for electing this guy, but shame on Jake Tapper for no pushback on this. Are you kidding me, my guy? Ask follow-up questions. Challenge any of this bullshit he's spewing.
Massively cutting drug dealing off. You're not going to see illegal migration that lowers and suppresses wages, raising housing costs, raises insurance costs. They suck up our free health care.
Undocumented immigrants aren't raising your insurance costs. Undocumented immigrants aren't sucking up all of your health care. What a useless platform for news.
From us, which we then have to pay for. That affects working Americans in a big way.
So I don't, what's your response to this?
I just, how can you let him just spew like that? Guys, you understand, right? That was like, I don't know, maybe 10 different talking points, all of which were bullshit. Like, can we just like real quick here? Okay. One, is Venezuela occupied by Cuba? I wonder. Hey, just taking a quick gander here at the size of their respective militaries. Venezuela has a military of around like 100,000 people. Venezuela's military size, just real quick. Okay. 63,000 in the Army, 25,000 in the Navy, 11,000 in the Air Force, and a National Guard of 23,000. So, okay, yeah, no, they have roughly 100,000 folks in their military, maybe 120. What about Cuba? Cuba has 50,000 active personnel with a reserve of 40,000. So just as an FYI, Venezuela has a larger military than Cuba. The argument that Cuba was militarily occupying Venezuela is just bullshit. Now let's take a look. Let's keep going. What other claims?
Hate Maduro. He had to bring Cubans in to protect them. They're no longer there. They got extinguished by our forces.
Yes, 32 Cubans got killed in this attack, and again, he's just like, yeah, whatever. We killed 40 people, including a Venezuelan granny who was 80 years old. But like it's fine. Whatever. We got Maduro.
32 of them were killed, or something.
Well,
like
that's the Cuban numbers. So the Cuban numbers of 32 is probably 300.
Oh, okay. Sources. I made it the fuck up. It's probably 300. Who knows?
But Cuba now has no financial ability to survive as a regime. So I think you're going to see Cuba fall before the end of the year. It's been 60 plus years in the making because of that. And how this matters to the people of Ohio, to answer your question, the working people of Ohio, you're going to see gas prices drop dramatically.
You're not going to see gas prices drop dramatically. Sorry. And the reason you're not going to see gas prices drop dramatically is because, hey, all those oil producers, they're not producing that excess oil to drive the prices down. They want that oil to be sold for as much as they can sell it for. Like, guys, one of the reasons Venezuela hasn't pumped oil at the levels Donald Trump thinks they should be pumped at is because Venezuela's oil uniquely requires a lot more refining than other oil fields around the world. It requires a lot of outside expertise, a lot of specialized equipment, a lot of upkeep, a lot of, additional refining facilities, and also a lot of additional material that cannot be obtained within Venezuela. It has to be imported in. And one of the reasons this is an important thing to point out here is that the reason Venezuela hasn't been doing great is because the price of oil has been lower than what makes it financially viable to pump it. So the idea that this is all going to bring oil prices down, no, it's not. They're going to keep selling it for a relatively high price.
You're going to see less drugs in your neighborhood.
You're not going to see less drugs in your neighborhood, primarily because Venezuela is not a major drug hub. It's not. Venezuela, like compared to other Latin American countries, Venezuela is not a major drug location. Do they have gangs that deal in drugs? Absolutely. Does the United States have gangs that deal in drugs? Absolutely. But people are still going to be getting drugs in the United States.
You're not going to see your neighbors, kids, friends, relatives infected by drugs because we're massively cutting drug dealing off. You're not going to see illegal migration that lowers and suppresses wages, raising housing costs, raises insurance costs. They suck up our free health care from us, which we then have to pay for. That affects working Americans in a big way.
So I don't. What's your response to those who say,
God, I just, again, Donald Trump pardoned the former president of Honduras who was running a drug trafficking ring through his country and was convicted for doing so, and who was shipping like 400 tons of cocaine to the United States yearly. Oh, God, whatever. It's all so stupid. Now, if you remember 2 clips ago, one of our elected representatives in Congress was talking about a lady, Karina Maria Machado, right? And she's the leader of the opposition. She got the Nobel Peace Prize. She talked enthusiastically about selling off all of the nationalized companies in Venezuela to private interest groups for, so much money that could help the people of Venezuela. And yet she's not being installed as the new leader of Venezuela. And, people have been wondering why. And it turns out the reason is because Donald Trump is a petty bitch. And you might be saying, "Oh, Jack, that's some harsh language there." No, it's not. Here's from a Washington Post piece that was published 2 days ago. 2 people close to the White House said the president's lack of interest in boosting Machado, despite her recent efforts to flatter Trump, stemmed from her decision to accept the Nobel Peace Prize, an award the president has openly coveted. Although Machado ultimately said she was dedicating the award to Trump, her acceptance of the prize was an ultimate sin, said one of the people. Quote, if she had turned it down and said, I can't accept it because it's Donald Trump's, she'd be president of Venezuela today, this person said. We're being led by morons. How's Miss Machado doing right now? What's her game plan? Because clearly, someone who sucked up enough to dedicate her Nobel Peace Prize to Donald Trump isn't done sucking up. Here she is on Hannity like yesterday.
Until you went to receive the Nobel Peace Prize. And I want you to tell us, you never went back at that point. Did you not go back because you feared for your life? And tell us, it's not very usual that people will dedicate the Nobel Peace Prize to the leader of a different country and say publicly, he deserves this more than I do. But you did that.
Let me be very clear. As soon as I learned that we had been awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, I dedicated to President Trump because I believed at that point that he deserved it. And a lot of people, most people said it was impossible to achieve what he has just done on Saturday, January 3rd. So if I believed he deserved it on October, imagine now. I think he has proven to the world what he means. January 3rd will go down in history as the day justice defeated a tyranny. It's a milestone, and it's not only huge for the Venezuelan people and our future, I think it's a huge step for humanity, for freedom and human dignity.
Have you spoken with President Trump since then?
The glazing from this lady is insane. Girl, you don't have to do this? Yeah, of course she does. She's selling out whatever dignity she has left in order to make a play to run a country.
I spoke with President Trump on October 10th, the same day
maybe if she gives him $1 million, he'll reconsider.
Prize was announced. Not since then, but I do want to say today, on behalf of the Venezuelan people, how grateful we are for his courageous vision, the actions, historical actions he has taken against this narco-terrorist regime to start dismantling this structure and bringing Maduro to justice, which means that 30 million Venezuelans are now closer to freedom, but also that the United States of America is a safer country nowadays.
Right. Did you at any point offer to give him the Nobel Peace Prize? Did that actually happen? I had read that somewhere. I wasn't sure if it was true.
Well, it hasn't happened yet, but I certainly would love to be able to personally tell him that we believe the Venezuelan people, because this is a prize of the Venezuelan people.
She's gonna try and bribe him with the Nobel Peace Prize. Oh my God, she's gonna do it, fam. She's gonna do it. Oh my God, it's so stupid. It's embarrassing. It's like, as an American, this is both infuriating and embarrassing that we have set up and set into motion this entire situation. God, it is unconscionable behavior that someone who is angling to be a fellow world leader is saying essentially to Donald Trump, hey, I'll give you a Nobel Peace Prize if you make me the leader of this country. Yeah, the Nobel Peace Bribe. Exactly.
Certainly want to give it to him and share it with him. What he has done, as I said, is historic.
Until you went...
It's just the continuous glazing. It is unreal. I've never seen someone kiss ass that much, and like, I don't know, I used to have an OnlyFans. Like, I've never seen someone kiss that much ass, and I've seen a lot of ass kissing. Now, of course, we also have, again, Donald Trump threatening all of these countries. Let's play this clip in particular.
Do you expect to take an action against Greenland?
Well, I don't want to talk about Greenland. Talk about Venezuela, Russia, Ukraine, and we'll worry about Greenland in about 2 months. Let's talk about Greenland in 20 days.
On Venezuela, we've talked so much about energy.
By the way, I will say this about Greenland. We need Greenland from a national security situation. It's so strategic. Right now, Greenland is covered with Russian and Chinese ships all over the place. We need Greenland from the standpoint of national security. And Denmark is not going to be able to do it, I can tell you.
What would the justification be, sir? What would the justification
to boost up security in Greenland? They added one more dog sled. It's true.
Sir,
they thought that was a great move.
What would the justification be for a claim to Greenland? What would the justification be?
About Greenland now. I just say this. We need Greenland from the standpoint of national security. And the European Union needs us to have it. And they know that.
I think there's something.
I hate this so much on so many levels. Because, guys, it does, in fact, like, while many of his statements might be bullshit and, like, hot air, it does actually appear that Donald Trump wants to take action against Greenland. Like, here's Stephen Miller's wife, Katie Miller, tweeting this out soon with a picture of Greenland in an American flag. And again, you might say, "Oh, well, no, there's no way. Why? Of course not." But I also want to remind y'all, here's Stephen Miller and the person in charge of a lot of what is actually happening at the White House, our resident shadow president, who is insane and racist as fuck.
Important topic. The premier of Greenland and the premier of Denmark and other Danish officials are responding to a Twitter post from your wife, Katie Miller, herself a former Trump White House official, showing Greenland covered with an American flag, saying soon. After that was posted, President Trump repeated the claim that the U.S. needs Greenland for national security reasons. The Danish prime minister responded to this in an interview earlier today, as reported by Bloomberg, quote, "I believe one should take the American president seriously when he says it wants Greenland, but I will also make it clear that if the U.S. chooses to attack another NATO country militarily, then everything stops, including NATO, and thus the security that has been established since the end of the Second World War. Can you rule out that the U.S. is ever going to try to take Greenland by force?
Well, let me go back.
Wait, isn't Greenland another state in another country? Like, wouldn't attacking Greenland be like attacking Tasmania here in Australia? Yes, kind of. Greenland isn't a state per se. It is administered by Denmark. And Denmark is, well, a member of NATO, as you might have noticed from that statement from, the leader of Denmark. And important to note here, if the United States were to attack a fellow NATO country, there's a very real chance that NATO's Article 5 could be invoked, in which every member of NATO would come to the defense of Denmark. So that would mean the United States going to war essentially with the European Union. And I want to point out here that the European Union has nukes, and the chances of that being a nuclear war are high, considering what the United States has at its disposal. Like, it is insane. Like, again, it's just insane. I just can't see the other NATO countries declaring war on the United States. I also don't see them standing idly by while, the United States seeks out, more and more territory from the European Union. Like, I don't see that happening. Like, the people of Greenland have made it clear they do not want to be a part of the United States. Denmark has made it clear Greenland is not for sale. The European Union has, by and large, stood with Denmark. Yeah, I don't think that this would go as well as a lot of folks in the United States seem to think it would. I'm usually calmed by the stalemate that comes from mutually assured destruction, but this shit worries me. Trump really is unhinged. Yeah, that is one of the most dangerous parts about all of this. He has a soup brain. He is an insane individual. He is succumbing to dementia more and more with every passing day. In order to prep a segment for later in today's show, I went through his Truth Social, and he's been posting literally hundreds of times every day. It's crazy. Sometimes he will repost the same thing immediately after posting something. He's just completely gone. He is gonzo. All right? And he has world-ending power. Yep.
Step. The president has been clear for months now. So I know you're treating this as breaking news.
Yeah, Trump literally said, yes, it's a go on the Maduro operation, because a video of Maduro dancing came to the attention of somebody in his inner circle, and they shared it around and agreed that, oh yeah, no, of course, Maduro dancing in this video is actually a grave insult to Donald Trump. That's why they did what they did, apparently. That was the trigger for an entire geopolitical clusterfuck.
The president has been clear for months now that the United States should be the nation that has Greenland as part of our overall security apparatus. The United States,
but your wife posted that hours after the Venezuela operation.
No, but
that's why it's newly relevant.
No, I'm not, and I'll talk with you about it for an hour. I think it's a really important conversation. I just wanted to reset, Jake, by making clear that it has been the formal position of the U.S. government since the beginning of this administration, frankly, going back into the previous Trump administration, that Greenland should be part of the United States. The president has been very clear about that. That is the formal position of the U.S. government.
Right, but can you say that military action against Greenland is off the table?
It wouldn't be military action against Greenland. The Greenland has a population.
Yeah. Look, guys. When Nazi Germany annexed the Sudetenland, it wasn't a military occupation. That was just some horsing around. That was just some palling around. It was just, look, guys, just if you just give him Greenland, it'll be enough. He won't try and take any more.
of 30,000 people, Jake. The real question is, by what right does Denmark assert control over Greenland? What is the basis of their territorial claim? What is their basis of having Greenland as a colony of Denmark? The United States is the power of NATO. For the United States to secure the...
Wait, that's not true. The European Union has like 400 nuclear weapons. And also, I do want to point out, Greenland was colonized by Denmark in 1721. Denmark literally began the process of colonization before the United States was even a country. And also, Greenland has indigenous people who don't want to be part of the United States either. God. Oh God, he's JQing. Of course he is.
Arctic region to protect and defend NATO and NATO interests. Obviously, Greenland should be part of the United States. And so that's a conversation that we're going to have as a country. That's a process we're going to have as a community of nations.
So you can't take it off the table that the U.S. would use military force to seize Greenland. You can't take it off the table.
Jake, I understand you're trying very hard.
Like, ha 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 ha. No, I understand you want me to say that we won't militarily seize Greenland, but you won't trick me into that, you see? Like, he's like, you know, it's not often that we are presented with an entire cast of mustache-twirling villains who gleefully delight in tying maidens to train tracks and watching them get run over by locomotives. But, you know, we've managed to assemble somehow an entire cabinet of such individuals to run the United States. It's like they got together and had a contest to see how quickly and how many maidens they could sacrifice to the glorious steam engine. And these are the winners. And like any time they go on television, they're just cackling with glee over the evil they do to the United States.
Hard to, which again is your job. I respect it. It's great to get exactly the headline, right? That catchy headline.
I'm just trying to get an answer to the question.
That says Miller refuses to rule out the United States should have Greenland as part of the United States. There's no need to even think or talk about this in the context that you're asking.
There's no need to even think or talk about this. Says man who is advocating for the annexation of another country's territory. Don't think about it. Shh, just let it happen. Like, what a fucking creep.
Of a military operation, nobody's going to fight the United States militarily over the future of Greenland. So
one last question.
Oh, well, okay, but so his argument is, well, no one would ever possibly go to war over the future of Greenland. No one lives there. It's fine. Like, his argument is simply, they aren't going to do anything about it, so why should we consider their positions? That's it. Like, he's saying, the United States is the global superpower. What are you gonna do about it, European Union? Why would they need to fight us? Exactly, Snoogan. And I just want to throw this out. I want to throw this out there. There's a pretty good reason why the United States doesn't need to annex Greenland to facilitate global security. And that reason is that Greenland is a part of NATO. So any country that attacks Greenland would be immediately triggering NATO Article 5, under which every NATO country is obligated to come to Greenland's defense. So if China were to attack Greenland, for example, NATO would be activated. Every NATO country would come to its defense and fight China. Same with Russia. So the argument, there are just so many Russian and Chinese boats around. And what does the United States running Greenland do that Denmark running, administering Greenland cannot? There's nothing except for a bold exercise of power that is disgusting in every respect. But, they're really proud of it. Here's Donald Trump's Truth Social, where he posted, He posted this screenshot. We need Greenland from a national security situation. It's so strategic. Right now, Greenland is covered with Russian and Chinese ships all over the place. And he quote tweeted it with this image and this clip.
We need Greenland from a national security situation. It's so strategic. Right now, Greenland is covered with Russian and Chinese ships all over the place. We need Greenland from the standpoint of national security. And Denmark is not going to be able to do it, I can tell you. You know what Denmark did recently to boost up security in Greenland? They added one more dog sled. It's true.
Sir,
they thought that was a great move.
What would the justification be for a claim to Greenland? What would the justification?
Oh, I don't want to talk about Greenland now. I just say this. We need Greenland from the standpoint of national security. And the European Union needs us to have it. And they know that.
The European Union does not need the United States to own Greenland. And again, the reason everyone is talking about Greenland is because the United States just did something geopolitically insane and completely beyond the pale by attacking Venezuela. And Donald Trump, in that same conversation, threatens Greenland, threatens Colombia, threatens Cuba, threatens Mexico. It's crazy. And again, this is from the Prime Minister of Denmark. Here's the statement from just a handful of days ago. I have to say this very directly to the United States. It makes absolutely no sense to talk about the need for the United States to take over Greenland. The United States has no right to annex any of the 3 countries in the Commonwealth. The Kingdom of Denmark, and thus Greenland, is part of NATO and is therefore covered by the alliance's security guarantee. We already have a defense agreement between the Kingdom and the United States today, which gives the United States wide access to Greenland, and we, on the part of the Kingdom, have invested significantly in security in the Arctic. I would therefore strongly urge the United States to stop the threats against a historically close ally and against another country and another people who have said very clearly that they are not for sale. And I just gotta say, guys, we've fallen really far here. I know I've said it before, and I guess I'll have to say it again. The work of rebuilding our reputation as a country will not be finished within any of our lifetimes. The youngest of you out there watching me will die before our reputation has recovered as a reliable country because of what Donald Trump is doing. It is the damage that has been done here threatens to unravel the defense agreements that have, by and large, kept the peace in large swaths of the world for decades. This very well could be a return, and I know people are now talking about the Don Roe doctrine, and that name makes me want to die a little bit inside. But essentially, it's just this ethos that the Trump administration is projecting into the world, where our foreign policy is no longer to try and maintain any kind of global stability or maintain our relationship with other countries. Instead, it is to project power within our immediate spheres of influence, i.e., the Donald Trump thinks that we should just be able to run all of North America and South America and any other part of the world we can grab. And that's it. And if other countries can do that in their spheres of influence, good luck. That's it. It's just a green light to every kind of territorial ambition any other country with a military might have. We've made ourselves a pariah among the world because fascism is self-destructive. It is predicated on our country, now currently run by a fascist. It is predicated on the destruction of every aspect of our society, including our foreign policy ties. And we're talking about all of these acts of military aggression, but all of it is in the shadow so far of what Donald Trump has done by cutting U.S. aid. the Trump administration cutting U.S. aid is going to lead to the deaths of 14 million people, most of whom are children. Beyond like the military threats and the potential conflicts that are looming on the horizon. Yeah, 14 million people, primarily children, by 2030. The 2030 part is important. But, so far, that means like 100,000 plus deaths are already baked in. Or have already occurred, maybe, even. 600,000 already? God damn. What they are doing is an atrocity with every day that goes by. And one of the things that we need to do is we need to look at this in its totality. We need to understand it. And we need to do something about it. We need to build up the power that is required for us to beat these guys. It's not enough for us to simply know the right thing. It's not enough for us to simply, oh, shame on you. It's not enough for us to kumbaya after Donald Trump is out of power, because this isn't just a Donald Trump issue. This is a Republican Party issue. This is what happens when our politics are captured by the wealthiest people on the planet. And our mission and our job right now is to build a grassroots movement that cannot be bought, that cannot be sold, and that cannot be stopped until we have built up enough power in every corner of this country to put a stop to these tyrants and petty, would-be massacrers for good. Not a single person like this should ever be able to hold power in the United States ever again. That should be one of the driving primary goals of our movement. A movement we can not just build up and then let die, but a movement that we build up and then we give off to our children and our children's children. Because this is a movement that cannot afford to lapse into complacency. That's what happened after the New Deal. The working people who fought and bled and died for a 5-day work week, for 8 hours of rest, 8 hours for what they will, and 8 hours of work that allowed them to get by. This country's wealthiest people lulled them into a sense of complacency, and then over time bought enough political power to undo all of those regulations, all of those victories. And now now everything has to be a hustle. Everything has to be difficult. Everything has to be a fight daily to survive. And it does not have to be this way. We do not have to settle for scraps off the table of billionaires. We should simply not have billionaires. And in order to do that, we need to organize. And I advocate for you guys to organize with your local Dems, or with your local DSA, or with your local Working Families Party, or with whatever local organization you have that is building effective political opposition to these corporate weasels. Okay? And we cannot simply rehabilitate people. Like George W. Bush has been rehabilitated. Liz Cheney has been rehabilitated. We cannot allow this to happen again. It cannot be that in 10 years' time, people are talking about how great Donald Trump was. Oh, he wasn't that bad. Look at him. Not Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Fallon tousled his hair. Look at how relatable he was. He liked McDonald's just like me. We can't allow that. Yeah, the New York Times is glazing Marjorie Taylor Greene, someone who is so deep in the conservative movement that she was just straight up talking about how the Jews were starting forest fires with space lasers. And before anyone goes, oh, she didn't say the Jews, she was talking about how the Rothschilds were buying space lasers and starting wildfires on purpose. I'm sorry, you don't name drop the Rothschilds and not know what you're doing. So, all I'm saying is, folks, if you need help getting organized, if you don't know where to start, you can join our Discord, you can get on in, and reach out to Dragonfly for help joining your local Dems, reach out to Gamergy for help joining or even making a new branch of the DSA. We need to get organized yesterday. And a lot of people in this community have already done so, and it's your turn now. All that being said, folks, if you got anything out of this, please hit the follow button, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and please consider supporting the show financially because you guys make this possible. I could not do it without your support. And finally, if you are in the market for gender-affirming lingerie, check out ImogeneOlivia.com. It is lingerie designed for trans femmes, and it has been made with trans femmes in mind, tested on cis men, cis women, non-binary folks as well, so anyone who wants to feel femme can get in on the action. Link should be down in the description. Go check it out. We got new sizes and styles coming in soon, so please do check it out. And with that being said, let's keep on going.
Riverboat Jack is going to town. All the viewers gather round. Twitch and YouTube is where she streams. All that content is bursting the seams. Politics, gaming, and plenty more. Her sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's Discord. Riverboat Jack.